You were in the middle of a conversation. Someone asked what you really wanted, not what sounded good, not what was realistic, what you actually wanted. You opened your mouth. You had an answer. You felt it rise. And then you reduced it. You made it smaller. You said something safer, something easier. You laughed. It looked natural. It wasn't. Later, you barely remembered it, but something shifted. That wasn't the only time. You were in a meeting once. You had an idea. Not a wild one, just honest. You knew it made sense. You waited for a pause. The pause came. You didn't speak. Someone else said something similar. Everyone nodded. You nodded too. You told yourself it didn't matter. You told yourself it wasn't a big deal. That's how it begins. Not with a collapse. Not with a loud failure. Just a small adjustment. A slight lowering of your own volume. You start talking less in groups. You smile more. You disagree less. You stop pushing your point. You let things pass. You say, it's fine, even when it isn't. It feels mature. It feels controlled. You tell yourself you're just choosing peace. You tell yourself you're avoiding unnecessary tension. You call it balance. You call it growth. But slowly, your edges get smoother. You stop sharing certain opinions. You stop mentioning certain plans. You stop saying what you really want, not because you can't, because it's easier not to. You notice you don't volunteer as much. You don't reach out first. You don't propose bold ideas. You wait to see what others want. You adjust. You fit. You match the energy in the room. If the room is quiet, you shrink. If the room is ambitious, you downplay. You stop being the first to try. You let someone else go ahead. It looks humble from the outside. It feels safe on the inside. And safety becomes a habit. You tell yourself, I don't need that. You say, it's not that important. You shrug and say, I'm good, even when part of you wanted more. You convince yourself that wanting less is strength, that needing less is maturity. You stop dreaming out loud. You stop announcing goals. You stop taking risks that might expose you. You choose the path that doesn't attract attention. Not because you are afraid of success, but because you are tired of friction, tired of explaining yourself, tired of standing out. So you blend in. At first, it feels like relief. Less pressure, less expectation, less scrutiny. No one questions you. No one challenges you. You move through spaces unnoticed. It's calm. It's manageable. But something else is happening quietly. You are adjusting your size. You are making yourself easier to hold, easier to understand, easier to accept. You stop correcting people when they misunderstand you. You stop clarifying when they minimize you. You stop asking for more. You stop expecting more. You say, it's fine, again, and again, and again. Over time, that phrase becomes automatic. You don't even check if it's true. You just say it, because it avoids discomfort, because it avoids tension, because it keeps things smooth. The adjustment becomes identity. You become the calm one, the easy one, the low-maintenance one, the one who doesn't make waves. People describe you as relaxed, as chill, as stable. You accept the description. You even start to believe it. You forget there was more intensity once, more hunger, more ambition, more volume. You don't feel like you lost anything. You just feel less. Less urgency, less drive, less fire. And you can't pinpoint when that happened. There wasn't a single event, no public failure, no dramatic rejection, No moment that forced you down. It was gradual. A series of small choices, small silences, small compromises. You adapted. Maybe you compared yourself quietly, saw others move faster, speak louder, aim higher. And instead of pushing harder, you stepped back. You told yourself it wasn't worth it. You lowered your expectations, not in a dramatic way, in a practical way. You aimed for what felt reachable, what felt safe, what felt certain. You stopped applying for things that stretched you. You stopped saying yes to opportunities that scared you. You stopped imagining bigger outcomes. You chose comfort. Not because you are weak, because you are human. The environment rewards comfort. It rewards predictability. It rewards those who don't disrupt. You notice that when you don't stand out, things are smoother. When you don't challenge, people like you more. When you don't push, there is less resistance. So you adjust again and again. Until the smaller version feels normal. You don't wake up one day thinking, I gave up. You wake up thinking, I'm just being realistic. You say you're practical, grounded, balanced. But deep down, there is a quiet question. When did this happen? When did you stop reaching? When did you stop raising your hand? When did you stop asking for what you wanted? It wasn't one day. It was accumulation. A comment that made you hesitate. A reaction that made you quiet. A moment you felt too much, so you trimmed yourself down just a little, then a little more, until the trimming became routine. Now you walk into rooms already adjusted, already measured, already reduced. You scan first. You calculate. You match the tone. You match the level. You stay within range. You rarely exceed it. Not because you can't, because you don't want to disturb. You don't want to look naive. You don't want to look arrogant. You don't want to look too ambitious. So you choose neutral. Neutral feels safe. Neutral feels acceptable. But neutral also feels smaller. The cost isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's subtle. Fewer ideas shared. Fewer risks taken. Fewer dreams spoken. Less presence. Less impact. Less you. And you don't even call it that. You call it maturity. You call it settling down. You call it knowing your limits. But some of those limits were learned, not natural. Some of them were installed quietly, through comparison, through social feedback, through wanting to avoid discomfort. You didn't fail. You adjusted. You became easier to fit, easier to place, easier to predict. And somewhere along the way, you stopped expanding. Not because you couldn't, because you chose not to. Over and over, small choices, small reductions, until the smaller version felt familiar. And now, when you look back, you don't see a crash. You see a gradual narrowing, a soft reduction of space. You didn't lose your abilities. You didn't lose your value. You just started occupying less room. And maybe that's why it's hard to notice. Nothing broke. Nothing exploded. You just became quieter inside. More contained. More measured. You started playing small. And it didn't happen in a single moment. It happened one safe choice at a time. One softened answer. One unspoken idea. One lowered expectation. Until the smaller version felt like you. And maybe that's the part that stays with you. Not that you failed. Not that you weren't good enough. But that you slowly reduced yourself. And never marked the day it began.